Alright, so recently Mr. 4K released a video making claims that he is the greatest Lost Ark creator of all time across all regions. And honestly, while he talked about saying he was taking shots at other creators, it mostly seemed like he was just talking about Stoops. Because, Stoops is like the memed face of Lost Ark in the West, and pretty much the biggest streamer in the category on Twitch. But what I found interesting was the attempt to quantify and compare a value to the community on your actions. It made me start to think about really what it means to help the community, to do things for the community. So instead of just thinking about it, I figured I would yap about it. This is going to be about the types of content you see in Lost Ark, the content creators, and kind of my conclusion on who I think is the GOAT. Starting off with community runs. They're pretty straightforward and honestly something pretty much every streamer does. It is extremely convenient to utilize your audience and avoid really sitting in Party Finder unless your community is full of rats or none of them play support. They're just a really good tool to get engagement and interact with your community while you're playing the game. Or if you're Kadi, you can use it to flame your community. But overall, community runs is really a common meta marketing strategy for your stream. And I think seeing and joining a streamer party can have two different effects. There are going to be a lot of people who are a little bit more self-conscious, a little bit more kind of shy about things, who might not want to be on a stream. Just like there's a lot of people with raid anxiety in this game. On the other hand, there might be some people who are more interested in joining streamer parties because they know that there's most likely going to be a more, generally welcoming response to things. Most streamers aren't advertising their party to invite people or bring people in and just be a dick to them. So I think you can kind of expect people to answer questions a little bit more if you have to ask them in a party like that. And for obvious reasons, I think, Mr. 4K absolutely does the most community runs out of any streamer. It is just going to be hard to beat the guy with every class on his roster. On the other hand, community events, they're a lot more rare. This being like the races and Wambleys that Stoops and Stained hold. This is something more geared towards the hyper-invested, to get them excited about actually doing the same raids that they're doing week after week after week, and also just have them compete with one another. This has been done for multiple regions, since basically you can just do this entire event through screen share, so there's little to no exclusion in the grand scheme of things. But for obvious reasons like the build of the game, regions can't compete with one another outside of whatever server they're on. And while it's not like jam-packed with a bunch of teams that are doing it, it becomes a pretty big event for the community to watch together. You don't see these events happen too often, but that also kind of makes it more exciting when it does happen. Now, guide content is basically a cornerstone of Lost Ark. This is just not an easy game to learn, and the in-game tutorials are not good. So maybe different class guides to really understand and set up your character, general mechanics and system guides, and of course the big one is raid guides, as basically people require you to watch a video before doing raids and pugs. There is no shortage of content when it comes to guides. But I think the obvious leaders in the category is Memorizer92 and ATK. They both have a really good track record and credibility in this situation, and also since they do play on KR, they have their guides ready for the West right away. A lot of people dabble into class guides. I would say Dubla is one of the more notable ones when it comes to general information guide content. I dabble into that a little bit too, and also Miso Shiro does that kind of content as well as part of, his variety of content. And there also is the one thing that a lot of people are worried about when they start streaming, and that is personality. Especially in the space of MMOs, people really need somebody to entertain them outside of the gameplay. Watching you do Echidna Theamine isn't really something exciting for the people because, they're probably doing it themselves 6 times a week. Even in the fighting community, the top players aren't generally the top streamers. Personality, attitude, and charisma, they all matter. It brings a lot of positivity and overall excitement for the game when people see that hype streamer who really gets into the game, the situation, like they get off their chair, they scream, they yell, they laugh. Let's not think about what it did for the marketplace, but like when Stoops does those clips on big crits and everybody just gets super excited over a class because of that, I think overall that's good to get people excited about the class and have people play the class. Then we have situations of Kadi trying to present his bussy for supports. I think Lost Ark just has a lot of good personality streamers within the category. And overall, I think they're actually pretty unique from one another. Like Stoops is absolutely like the screaming hype guy. Meanwhile, Saint is very more a collected hype guy. Like he's able to keep himself very composed through a lot of things. He's also the creator that you can ask a question and he probably has the answer to, and he'll explain it to you. He'll take the time for it. And for the love of God, don't ever ask Stoops lore questions. Zeals is kind of a combination of both of them, and also he does do a fair bit of guide content as well. And I know a lot of people probably didn't expect me to mention him in this video because of the drama that he had recently, but at the end of the day, homie did work for the community. Now, a unique creator you probably wouldn't expect me to mention this is actually Revel, as he showed to the Lost Ark boomers and also newer players that you can get into this game late and enjoy the game at your own pace. You can say that yes, he had streamer privilege because he was streaming and everybody was watching him, so people were willing to kind of go along with him on the journey and help him and do runs with him, but he was never really bust through content. but his journey is just overall like a story that, hey, you can do this still. And for the fuck of it, let's put in a dark horse. Love him, hate him, Legalia did possibly the dumbest and bravest thing a Lost Ark creator can do, or any creator, which is showcasing an exploit on stream. And the thing is, that bug was in the reports for like a week. AGS and Smilegate looked at it and were like, we'll get around to fixing it, don't worry about it. People aren't really abusing it that much, right? Well, after Legalia started streaming and showed it off, yeah, they blocked off some of that quite quick. You could say he did it for content, he did it for the community, or maybe he's just hater of the year. So as you can see, there's really a lot of ways that creators can help out the community, and I don't think it has to be just directly helping them out. And I think it's hard and pretty much impossible to compare all these things apples to apples. But in my mind, there is a clear winner for the GOAT, which is actually Sivo and the crew of the Lost Ark Nexus. This has been the greatest resource for Lost Ark without a doubt. No matter where you are talking about Lost Ark, if people have questions on learning or need to find out information, it pretty much always ends up with somebody mentioning the community guides or a link to the Nexus. The whole thing started off with just class guides on a Google Doc for people to just share, which ended up evolving into covering pretty much every aspect of the game itself. Every single content creator has used the Lost Ark community guides as just content itself. I think pretty much everybody who is in the Lost Ark community that actually looks online for information has used the community guides at least once in their life. And even though this isn't English for the Western version of Lost Ark, other regions absolutely look into the community guides and get the information from it. With things like damage breakdowns, these are things that other regions can't get at so easily or they don't want to go through. As you've seen, they're a lot more strict about the damage meter. The community guides overall to me comes off as something out of passion. You can't really monetize views on a Google Doc, and the website that they have, Lost Ark Nexus, has a few ads on it which basically just keeps the lights running for the website. Or so I'm told. Because at the end of the day, every content creator, their YouTube, their Twitch, whatever, it's probably monetized. This video you're watching right now, probably monetized. Which inherently doesn't make the content or the people bad, but I'm just not really a fan of like the holier than thou, I did everything for the community, it's all for you, not for me. And the community guides is something that is by the community for the community, not for their community, not for the person, the streamers, that person's community. Which on a similar note, shout out to the guy who did the Elixirs and Transcendence calculator. He did a lot of heavy lifting for a lot of people there. And the thing is, like, everybody knows these streamers, but not even these streamers all know the names of the people that are on these docs that they're reading their information off of. Which led to a pretty interesting interaction, I guess, where a creator tried to call out Sivo of Parroting, the guy who runs the Lost Ark Nexus. But I think overall, the community guides contribute to the game globally, to every player. People work their ways around language barriers, and I think this is the most complete resource out of all. So while this was kind of glazing the Nexus video, I don't want to downplay the value that all these creators do bring to the Lost Ark community. Pretty much as long as a creator isn't creating a shitcoin and rug pulling the community, I'm pretty much alright with them to some degree. I do agree with Stoops that it does better for the community to lift other people up as opposed to bringing them down. I just don't really like the idea of writing off what creators do for the community just because you personally do not like the person. At the end of the day, we're all in this together, being a bunch of morons playing a grindy pay-to-win game. And as I say that, ironically, I'm gonna go play some Pale World now.